Hello, my friends. Welcome to my very first stream. So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, well, that was a mistake. Give me 1 second, my friends, and I will be right back. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to sort it out. I thought I had everything perfect, but obviously not. But mistakes were made and rectified. So, without further ado, let's try again. Let's get started. And there we go. Yes. Hi. I don't know where I'm waving. Hello. So welcome in, my friends. Much appreciated for you being here. And by the way, a massive thank you for 2,000 subs. I never thought I would get here, to be fair, but there we go. Thanks. And before you ask, yes, my finger. This is how I hold a mouse, with this finger pointing directly up. That's because I have a scar. I don't know if you can properly see it. It's like a sickle. Comes up and then over. And that's because I was fighting with my brother. I put my fist through a window and yeah, the damage was not repairable. So that's the most I get out of my finger. I cannot move it any further back than that. So naturally, when I'm using the mouse, this finger goes up in the air. I do apologise if it's going to bug you, but without further ado, let's get started with the stream. Now today, I thought I had a good idea. So now I've got my pad. I just wanted you lovely people to give me some letters. So let me just see if I can get the chat up properly, because there's no point in me just talking to myself without having you lovely people here to chat with me as well. So I am just getting my chat box sorted, and there we go. Now we can start. I do apologize. This is the first stream for the BPG channel, and it's getting getting used to it. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but we always like a good learning curve. It enables us to get better. Now today I'm going to be using these. Believe it or not, these were bought from my other half off, I think it was either Temu or the TikTok shop, and it's one of the best things that she bought. They're completely metal, and they have varying different sizes when it comes to drawing. So they are really, really good. One of them, just so you can see, and I forgot to put my phone on silent. As you can see, this one, I don't know, there you go. This one is the thick lead, as you can tell. So I have the sharpener to go with it. And this is your more traditional, I think this is a 0.5, this one. 0.5 mechanical pencil. These are the pencils that I tend to use more often than not. I've got multiple of these. This one is the HB, but I have got up to 6B as well. So that's good for when I'm taking my sketching to a whole big project. And the chat's disappeared again. Hang on. There we go. So what you will find when you are drawing is people try to be way too precise. Sketching's not about being precise. So just to give you an example of what I was going on about earlier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two letters and I'm just going to overlay them on top. So the best way I can show you is if I move just out of the way so you can see a lot better. Like so. That's perfect. Right, so what I want to do is say my initials, RP. So it's very simple, and maybe I'll have to move a little bit closer. Just give me a sec so you get a better angle. Now we've got RP. Instead of layering them one after the other side by side like you would expect, it's kind of like doing the letters on top like this, except now you're going to grab the letters, you're going to twist them, you're going to move them. Instead of there being curves, you're going to put straight edges and vice versa, anything like that. So what I want to show you is a little way that you can make your own the logo of sorts. It doesn't really have to be a logo, it can just be for doing it for fun. So let's see what I can do with RP, and these are very easy. If you have an idea, put it down on paper. Most of them will be rubbish and you won't want to continue with that design, but you're learning with each and every one. So let's go with, let's do a simple one to begin with. So going with only straight lines. There you have the R. Then just by simply reversing the P, we now have a picture like this, and as you can see, it's now it looks more like a logo or something along those lines. This is another one that I did when I just sketched it out earlier, and this is my name, Rob. Now when you look at it, you don't see the name Rob, do you, straight away? But if you look closely enough, you can see exactly where I've layered them up. And then I added an extra little line just to sort of give it a bit more symmetry. But this is the general idea of what you're going to be trying to achieve when you do this little method. So if you want, drop it in the chat, let me know, 2 letters, maybe even 3 or 4, and let's see if we can actually make a design out of them. So that's just one design. Now you could go in the opposite direction. You could do and of course I'm just being very rough. And then again, reverse the P, but have it like this. So of course I'm trying to do this at an angle, so my lines are very scruffy at the moment, but you get the general idea. This is how it's going to work. We're going to layer the letters up on top of them, around each other in certain ways that will try and give you a really cohesive, nice design. I'll tell you what we could do. Let's go with the word tree. It's just a random word that's come into my head. Tree. So let's start with the letter T. That's an easy one to begin with. So you've got the T to begin with. Now we can go a multitude of different ways from this. We both have the, well, say We've done the T. Now we've got the R and 2 E's to put in there as well. Now the R can go in whichever way that you want. As I said earlier, if you want to make sure that you have an R that's very, very rugged and straight lines with lots of corners, then that's fine. But if you want to keep the curves as well, you can also do that. Now what I could do with this one, just to give it that little bit more variation, and as I said, not all of these will be good. So there you go. There's the R. And now it would just be as easy just to draw a line underneath and then a line going through the middle like so. And you've now got a little symbol. Now any of these symbols you can take into a full design. You can just use it like graffiti, or you could use it as a basis for a bigger design. So I've got Inkscape open at the moment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just play around with a few of these ideas, seeing if we can get different variations of the same words or the same letters, and then see if we can't take that straight over into Inkscape. So there's one that I wanted to do. It's one that I tend to send it to my partner in crime, my missus, my one and only, and I will send it as a little bit of a sweet thing to do to make her smile. And it is simply that. Now to most people, they wouldn't guess what it means, but a lot of people would. I love you, and the 8 is supposed to represent the infinity symbol, the everlasting loop in an 8. That means forever. So let's see if we can layer these up on top of each other and come up with a decent design. Now, of course, you don't have to do it exactly perfect, but you can just play around with it. So let's start with the eye at the side. And then instead of having the heart looking upright like it does here, how about we do like a backwards 3, and then we curve the point in, so we've got our heart. And then once we've got our heart, we need to put in the U. So where could the U go? Well, I know where the 8 can go already. The U, we could have it a bit like that. And then we could have the 8 right in the center. And there you go. It now looks like a completely different thing. But if you know what you're looking for, this is the I love you forever, all layered on top. And it's that simple. So let's go with this one for now, because I just think that one might look the best. So let's switch over to Inkscape and see if we can't turn this into something a whole lot more interesting. Now, let me just shift that away. And let's move over to Inkscape. Now, of course, this is the design. And I'm thinking maybe if we shift it. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe if we shift it so it looks this way up rather than this one. So we could do it that way. We know the eyes there. We can extend that off as well to give it more of a punch. And then we've got the infinity symbol, we've got the heart going around, and of course the U. So I think that's the one we should be going for. So just bear with me while I move things out of the way. And thanks for that, Dribble. I don't need your notifications. Thank you very much. So what I'm going to do now is I am simply going to take that design and try and make it a full design in Inkscape to show you how easy it is to do. Now let me just turn this up a little bit so you can more or less, yes, this is my workspace. This is where I spend most of my days. And oh, I'm sorry about that. I was trying to move my phone to a better position. There we go. That will do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go onto Inkscape right here, and I am also going to make sure that we can take that design straight in there. Now the best way to do this is by, of course, importing it, but I'm going to just do it by eye. I think I'll be able to do it without any problems, so let's give it a go. Now first I want to try and get the shape. So I want to make the shapes first. I want to do the U shape that comes across, then I can do the heart, and then I can do the circles within the heart. And if I want, I can also highlight the infinity over the circle by putting a stroke on it and then cutting the stroke. But I'm just like thinking out loud at the moment, so let's go. We're going to start with the circle and the square because that's the best way of getting that design or that shape. So first off, I'm holding Control and Shift. I'm scrolling up to get a perfect circle, and then I'm just going to hold Control and Shift again, press C in order to convert it to a path. And now I'm going to get a square. Let's make this full screen. I'm going to get a square. I'm going to do exactly the same. There we go. Now what I want to do with this is I want to make two separate shapes because that is what I'm going to be using. So first off, we want to make the heart and the sort of shield shape around the outside. So the shield shape is probably the easiest one to do. I can simply take this circle, make sure snapping is turned on, and then just, without making a certain mistake first, I need to take this circle and make sure it's the same width and height as the square. Otherwise, it will not work. So with the square selected, I can go up to the top and you can see it's 815 pixels. Well, 815.256 pixels. So I'm going to get this, highlight it all, right click and copy it. And then I'm going to come to this one and I'm going to Control and V. Did I get the wrong? Yeah, I Control and C by accident. So Control C and then Control V. Hit enter, and now they are both the perfect size. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to snap it on. And just like that, well, if I snap it onto the bottom, just like that, you have your shape. Now once you have gone to path and union, you'd be able to take the two nodes on either corner and select them both, drag them down and shorten it as much as you want. In fact, I probably will do that shortly, but for now, let's just duplicate them. Now with this, I am going to get this circle that we've already created. I'm going to right click, duplicate, and I'm going to snap this to the next side, just like this. And now I can highlight them all path and union. And then I'm going to select it again to get the rotation handles up, and then just spin it round, hold control, and it will lock it within 15-degree increments so I can get the point exactly where I want it. So there we go, we now have the heart, and of course we have this shape here. Now this needs to be joined together with union. I'm going to move that back onto the canvas, and now I can just double click. I can get all the nodes up. What this has done, or what the double click does, is it simply takes you straight to your node tool. So any item you want, double click and it will automatically take you to your node tool. If you want to deselect, back to your select, and then just click off everything, or click one item that you want. But now, as I was saying, there is a very easy way of shortening this. Now, if you wanted to use your select tool and try and shorten it, pay particular attention to this curve. As you can see, it squashes the curve as well, because it is in effect squashing everything down when you're reducing the size. So in order to get around that, you can highlight, say, both these top corner nodes, and now these little, oh sorry, didn't mean to do that bit. These little arrows will allow you to simultaneously move away all nodes from each other, or move them closer together. So because these are the only two nodes selected, if I select the arrow and pull away, nothing happens. But when I hold shift, as you can see, they now both move in unison. But I don't want them to move away from each other. I want them to stay exactly the same distance apart from each other that they already are. So instead, I'm just going to click on the node itself, and I'm going to click and drag down. Now obviously I'm slipping side to side, so if I hold control, it will lock it onto the vertical axis, and now I can reduce it to whatever I want very quickly. So it's very simple to create shapes that you want, and a lot of people have a tendency of going all around the houses to get to their destination when they really don't need to. If you can think about it, there is usually a shortcut leading straight to what you need. So without further ado, let's carry on and see exactly where we can get to. Now I'm just going to increase the size. Remember, the shape is already set, so that's not going to matter. The size is what is going to matter. And now I want to fit this inside here. Now it doesn't matter if we warp the shape of the heart or anything, as long as it still looks like a heart. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to change the color on this so it's easier to see. Now as you can see, this snaps straight onto the outer edge like this when I move. So by you doing that, I can already make sure that this is perfectly level. Now move this side. If I move this side in, you can see this. See, this is the difference between me streaming and creating videos. When I'm creating videos, all the bits where I get tongue-tied or I make a silly, stupid mistake, then I can edit that out. No more schoolboy errors in my videos. But there you go. We now have the exact look that we're looking for. Now what I want to do is I want to pay particular attention to the width as well, just because it will make it a lot easier for us. The width at the moment is 1334.278. I'm just going to copy that before I create a circle. Now I'm going to create a circle just like I normally would. Hold Control and Shift and scale up to get the circle. Then hold Control and Shift again and press C to convert it into a path. Now before I continue, I want to change the color so it's easier to see. And now I'm going to go to my Select tool. Now we've already got the dimensions of this. So what I'm going to do is triple click on this value to highlight it all, and then Control and V. Hit enter. It is now the same size. But now that we have the exact same size, we can just as simply go back into the value box, hit the slash and then 2, and that is going to reduce it in half. So that's basically a division sum. That's 1334 divided by 2, and it will give you the exact size of half of your object. Now with that done, I can just see, and there's another tongue tie. I can simply move this over to the top, so where it snaps on to the top of the heart. And then I can just stretch it out and make sure it's the exact size that I want it to be. Now remember, I am going to be leaving a gap. Now start that a bit again though. I'm going to turn the snapping off because it's getting in the way slightly. And that's about right. I don't want it to be absolutely perfect and follow the contours of the heart, because I want to make sure that it looks like it's completely separate. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate this. You can right click and duplicate, or you can just simply hold Control and press D. And now I'm going to slide that over. I'm going to make sure the snapping is turned on. And I want to make sure that it snaps right here, so they're both exactly the same. Now I'm going to highlight them both and I'm going to group them together. So actually I can go down here and just use the group, which is this one. And now that I've got them grouped together, I can select the hearts behind it, and I'm going to use my Align and Distribute menu. Now, if you haven't got your Align and Distribute menu open, you can come to this little arrow and you can find it right here. Now my Align and Distribute menu is open, I can make sure it's completely central to the last selected, and there we go. It didn't even look like it moved, so I think I got everything perfect on that one, but we will see. Now what I want to do is I want to create a stroke around both of these. Now in order to do this, it is pretty simple. You don't have to go around all of the houses. It's going to look exactly the same as these, but with a stroke. So instead of trying to manually draw the lines and get the curves perfect, you can just simply take this shape, and now I'm going to ungroup. So I'm going to come back down and ungroup. The only reason I grouped them is so they didn't layer over the top of each other when it came to aligning. Now with them both done and they're both selected, I can now move on to going down to the bottom corner and putting a stroke on. Now I've just put a black stroke on for now because I don't really need anything more than that. But what I'm also going to do is go to my fill and stroke menu, and if it isn't open, you can find the fill and stroke menu with this button. Or alternatively, you can just double click one of these colors down here and it will also take you to your fill and stroke menu. Now I need to thicken up that stroke because, as you can see, it's not very visible, and when I take all the colors away, it's not going to look right if that one is not the same thickness as all the others. So I'm going to try and round it up to something that I think is going to be good. Let's go with 10. Let's see how that looks. Nah, that still needs to be quite a bit more. So, no, that's too much now. No, actually, I think not 100. Do you know what? I can actually make that work. Now, what I want to do with these two is I want to make sure that they're joined together as well, because as you can see, there is a very, very thin line in between the two now, because it joins with snapping via the object and not via the stroke. But now I'm going to turn them off, and as you can see, it now overlaps perfectly. So as I said earlier, there is really no need to go to all the trouble of trying to do it manually when you can just do it just as simple like this. But now we have these two shapes exactly as we want them, we can also alter the shape to get them looking a bit more like the infinity symbol and a little bit less like two round circles. Something around there. And now I'm just going to drag that down a little. And I think bringing it down quite a lot, actually, I think that's going to look better the way it is. So yeah, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to leave it as it is, like that. And now I'm going to take the fill color off this one as well. And of course, oh, I need to put a stroke on it first, which is the exact same as the other stroke. So there we go. We now have the stroke, and we can turn off the fill color. And now we're going to select the shape at the back and do exactly the same. Turn off the fill, add a stroke, and of course make sure the stroke is exactly the same. And there you go, just like that, you've got a very simple design right in front of you that you can use in a multitude of different ways. Now, one of the things that I like doing myself personally is I like taking shapes like this, and then I will make them all one line drawing. And with the line drawing, you can then manipulate it in more ways and make it look even better. So at the moment, we've just got a very simple, flat looking bit of line work, and that's pretty much it. But if we go to path, stroke to path, now what that's done is it has turned all of these strokes into their own individual paths. So if we select one of them on their own, as you can see, it is now a path down at the bottom right here. It's no longer a stroke, it's not an object, it is a full path. So now we have a full path. I am going to use this shape and I'm going to go to path union. And again, with these two, because they're overlapping, union. Now all I did then was control and the plus key in order to union them together without going to path union every time. And now if I select this and I try and move it, as you can see, they are joined together. But now we have a line drawing for want of a better word. It's not really a line drawing, but you know exactly what I mean. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. And now we have another copy. But of course, we're going to change the color to make sure it's easily visible. Let's go with red. And now I'm going to also layer this down one level. So with the... Well, actually, I don't really need to do that because none of them are filled. So if you wanted to, you can layer them down one level so you can make sure they're underneath everything else. That's pretty much what I was thinking then. But yeah, I'm not going to need to. What I will need to do though is remember that I forgot to put them all as the same thing. So what I'm going to do with the red and the black is I'm going to go to path and union, and that's changed color to match the first item selected. So as you can see, I am just thinking out loud at the moment and problem solving as I go along, but we now have our general image that we want to use. But I also didn't duplicate this before I union them together. Okay, see now, because we dropped it down one level, the two center circles are underneath. That's why you can't see them. If I was to raise them up one level again, there you go, they're back. But now we have our different colored image. We can simply go to path, dynamic offset, and we'll get the one single node. Now, of course, when you're using the dynamic offset, it's always a good rule of thumb to turn off your snapping. It will get in the way. And now I'm just going to click and drag to get a border, but I do not want it to be a big border. Something around there will do. And then hold Control, Shift, and press C. That's going to convert it into a path. Now we have our two different objects. We have the red one, which if I lower down one step now, there we go. We now have the black object, which are still separate and need to be joined together. And now we have our two objects. Now the reason I've done this, if I go to my document properties, let's go with a darker page, something like that. Now I'm just going to make sure that this part, the black line that we are working from, is bright white. And I'm going to take the color that's just underneath. I'm going to change it to a color that I like. So I'm going to go with something like a blue. That's more of a teal or a cyan, but there we go. And now with that done, I'm going to take that object that I've just changed the color of, go to my fill and stroke menu and add a 5 to 10% blur. Yep, something that looks like that. And now before I move on, I'm going to Control D, and that's going to create a copy. Now for this copy, I'm going to turn the blur off just temporarily, and I am going to go to my fill so I can brighten it up. Not much, but I also want to take some of the saturation out as well. And now with that done, I'm also going to go to path, dynamic offset again. Let's have a look for that node. There it is. And there's a little bit of a bug right up in this top corner, as you can see. But it's really not going to matter that much. And now whatever you set your blur to in the first instance, I want you to double it. So as you knew, we set it for 10%. So for this one, I'm going to set it at 20. And then I'm going to drop this to the bottom. So using my select tool, drop to the bottom, and we have something that looks like this with a very gradual blend. And now we can just take the white and we can blend this half of the first blend we did, which was 10. So we're going to make this 5. So this is going to be a very, very slight blur. Now, of course, it looks a little bit pixelated on my screen, but that is just a rendering setting that I've got. Basically, when you render this out, it is going to render at a high DPI. Now, a quick message on DPI in case you're unaware. The DPI that you have set here is your default DPI. However, like this, and you can add to this by all means. Just go for it. Experiment. And if you take anything away from this stream, that's what I want it to be. It's good to experiment. It really is. Experiment and do rough designs, because not all the designs that you do are going to be absolutely fantastic. It's just not going to happen. But sorry, Floki. No, sorry, my dog's going berserk because anyone who goes past our gate gets barked at. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give you, as a last thing before I end the stream, I'm going to give you just, well, a little guide or a little browse of my own art pad. Now, not many people get to see this, so please be aware of that. And remember, not everything you do is going to be good. Some of it you'll just do as a rough guide or as something that you want to create in the future. Or maybe it can even just be a concept. For example, this one. You might have seen this in a previous video. This is a concept that I did I wanted to create a cutout, a paper cutout. So I started to do concepts. Now that one was me and my daughter messing about, because what's better than getting your daughter in on the magic of creating? There is nothing better. It sends a warm little glow in my heart every single time I see her being creative. And when she's being creative and then comes and shows me with excitement in her eyes, I see myself, and it just makes me really happy. This was another concept that I did for one of my designs, and I thought this one had a lot more depth to it. So it was more of a personal one for that. And again, I just wanted to do a couple of just funky little ways of doing my daughter's name, which is Sarah. So that's what I came up with just when I was doodling. Again, this was a concept that I did for a client. You may have seen it. But this was a really heartwarming story, and I wanted to make sure that I got it right. And I wanted to make sure that I had the concept perfect. So I did that by asking lots and lots and lots of questions. And that was another Baphomet, I think it's pronounced. Basically, Satan. And they wanted, Mrs. Zombie 666 wanted Baphomet in her logo for her Twitch channel. And that's the design I came up with, and she absolutely loved it. That one is just scribbles. That was a quick sketch that I did of, I believe she's called Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. So yeah, Sally. That was as part of a client job as well, where I just went to town on a little sketch, and yeah, he was taken up straight away. And that was the background for the same one. So as I said, a quick sketch to try and get a decent looking picture. And there you go. Look at that. That, with a little bit of help from me, was done by my daughter. So yeah, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as I think they say. Let me just move this over a little bit. It's not getting in the way. There we go. Right. Now, again, that was another one that was just to see if I could get the lighting right. And yeah, I couldn't. I did it very, very quickly. I think it took me all about 5 or 10 minutes. But it was just something that I had to get out of my head. In my head, I was just, yeah, I've got an idea, I've got an idea, I've got an idea. And it might turn into a bigger project, so I'm not going to tell you what that idea was. But yeah, it didn't work for the idea I wanted it to, but it might work for something else. So watch this space for that. And then there was this one when I was playing around with just a graffiti style. I just decided to start going graffiti, and that's what I came out with. I've not decided yet whether I should be actually can we play guess what you're drawing? I think your sound is broken. It could be. It could well be. What's the problem with it? And yeah, I suppose you could, but I've got to come off the stream soon. But I do not mind. Yeah, demo. And then, of course, if you've seen my new t-shirt design, you'll know that that's where that came from. I'm sorry, I have a tendency of drinking coffee while I'm cooking. Now, this one you might have seen on a community post, and this bit's from my daughter, just so you know. But you can see that this was just a design that I had for an axonometric drawing. So that is using the axonometric grids on Inkscape, which is a very, very cool tool to use. And what I'm going to be doing, well, what I have been doing is creating this in Inkscape. At the moment, I need to do the windows, the doors, and the hyper details. So I'm doing it quite large. And there's been a lot of detail. A lot more detail on it than I thought there would be. But there you go. That's pretty much that art pad. However, there is one more art pad. I will share a few of them via the community channel. But for now, I'm going to call it right there. I've been going for just under an hour. And if this stream is something that you really enjoyed or you want to see more of, where it's just me off the cuff riffing, even though I have a tendency of getting tongue-tied sometimes when my mind is not working at the same speed as my mouth. That's a problem I've had since I was a child. But you get the general idea. I wanted to give you all a quick message to say thank you. When I first started YouTube, it was to simply promote my business. And it has now changed into something a whole lot more than it was. I have realized just how fun YouTube can be when you're teaching people. I didn't think that teaching was ever going to be something that I wanted to do, and I kind of fell into it. So now that I'm looking at 2K, well, over 2K, I think at the last check it was 2060 something, and I'm just blown away. Thank you. Thank you so much for being your creative, legendary selves, and thank you for helping me to continue on this journey doing what I've always loved and wanted to do with my life, and that was become a graphic designer and do art for a living. I never thought I'd get to this point, but I am here now, and I am thankful every day for the good fortune that comes my way, and a lot of that has to do with all of you. So thank you very much. I'm going to bid you all a fond farewell. Say thank you for staying with me. Stay creative, of course, and I will see you next time.